let's delve into whose stock rose and grew during the 2020 World Championship. I'm gonna start on this point. I think the free agency, the free agent who really boosted their future contract this offseason during the World Championship, it's my man Beryl. It's Beryl in the bottom line. I think he went from he was always a great player. We've always seen him as one of the top supports in the world. I think with Damwon's dominant run, going 14-3, kind of solidifying themselves as one of the best teams of all time, and he is the primary shot caller, and he is often the primary playmaker on the team. I think obviously this meta really kind of showed all of his skills, his ability to roam the map, to play lock and step with Canyon to kind of lock down the jungle, which was one of the reasons why Damwon was so successful, because they were locking in the jungle with vision. They were pretty much choking out opponents with neutral objectives behind the kind of the strong arm of Canyon, with Beryl always being there to protect the weak side. It was kind of hilarious how many times in the final Suning felt like they had an advantage. It was like, oh, okay, we got 2v1 on top line. Oh, there's Beryl. Or like, oh man, we finally cut out Canyon into the jungle. Oh, there's Beryl. Or oh man, mid lane, 3v2. Oh, there's Beryl there to back them up. Oh, he was always there at the correct time. And that, it doesn't always show up on the KDA, right? It's not going to show up on the KDA of like, oh man, Beryl made like 12 saves this game, but he was always there at the right time. And I think for a lot of teams looking for a support, obviously I think Damwon's at the front of the line. Damwon can offer maybe not the most money, but they can offer legacy, right? Where if you're Beryl, you look at this situation and you might be part of what could become the greatest League of Legends team of all time. It's on the table, right? If they roll it back next year with the same 5 players, I don't think anyone's going to bet against them as the odds-on favorite to win it all. They will be the heavy favorites to go back-to-back. And as SKT is the only team to ever do that, I think if you're Beryl, it's like SKT is legendary. They are the South Korean team. They are the unofficial national South Korean League of Legends team. They're beloved. Look at how big the organization has become because of their success in those dynasty years. And it's like, do you pass it up to possibly be part of a dynasty to go play somewhere else for, a few more $1 million? That's what's probably going to come down to him, because I know Damwon is not, it's not KT, it's not SKT. They're not backed by a giant telecommunication company or Hanwha Life, insurance, where it's another huge $1 billion company. Damwon is much more funded by a singular person with a lot more sponsors helping that, Damwon Gaming, it's a growing brand. So I'm curious if they're able to keep Beryl, but if it's gonna be a tough offseason for Beryl. Not tough offseason. It's gonna be awesome offseason. He's gonna be offered $1 million from various sources, but it's gonna be a tough decision for him. So Beryl's my choice for the player who rose his stock the most during the 2020 World Championship. What's yours, Emily?
So I mentioned him earlier, but I actually think it's SOFM. I think a lot of people inside the LPL, when he first arrived, they were like, "This is the best Vietnamese player ever." Like in in the entire history of the Vietnamese server. He is going to come into LPL and he's going to be insane. And SOFM is a really interesting player. He, even throughout the course of this entire season, and I'd actually argue the same for Beryl too, in terms of support champion pool and how spring Damwon played versus summer Damwon. Especially when I'm looking at that far ahead in terms of their legacy as possibly one of the best teams. I think right now they're still very meta dependent. But anyway, putting that aside, SOFM I think is also another jungler who really, really, really benefited from the current jungle meta and just how powerful junglers are right now as carries and also as facilitators. You can kind of do both with the jungle champion pool that's available. And SOFM has been rightfully, in my opinion, criticized for some really inefficient and greedy pathing, as has actually Canyon. But I think something that both of them kind of have in common, and especially SOFM rising his stocks, I think people were already like, Canyon is amazing, he makes really smart decisions. SOFM doesn't necessarily always make like the best or most efficient decision when you're thinking about it in a vacuum. But when you look at the greater context of the game, how Suning are playing, what they want to do, I think he's been a really interesting addition to how much they've improved in this specific meta. And I think in that way, he actually raised his stock significantly because I think previously people are looking at him and they're like, okay, this guy, he only plays one style. He's going to greed for Krugs. He's going to be on the enemy Raptors camp when we're doing Dragon, and that's a problem because then we lose that fight. And he's kind of, wasting time around the map, et cetera, et cetera. I think he really eradicated that kind of perception, or at the very least put it in the past and have people look at him as someone who does see the map a bit more, does make still some not objectively the best decision, but someone who is thinking about the game in a really interesting and specific way. And a lot of teams are willing to build entire rosters around that. Right, that's how Joinby ended up on FPX, is that people were like, really like your specific style. Here is a team that is going to help you facilitate and do exactly what you want to do. And so in that case, I think SOFM really raised his stock a lot from this Worlds. Not that people thought he was bad, but just hyper specific, I guess. And now I think a lot more people are looking at him and being like, whoa, this guy, instead of this guy.